What is going on, YouTube? Welcome to yet another episode of the MMA Show. Thank you guys for tuning in once again. I really appreciate you all. If you're new here, well, welcome. I hope you guys enjoy the content. If you haven't already, go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. That would help me out tremendously. And leave me a comment. Let me know how you guys are feeling, man. This beautiful Monday morning, July 1st, by the way, beginning of the month. Holiday coming soon, so I'm looking forward to that. But we did have a really good, fight card this past weekend, UFC 303, which, I don't know, the card was literally cursed or something, bro, because from a month ago to now, not a month, probably like 3 weeks to now, to the day of the fight, like literally hours before the fight, the whole card was in shambles, okay? It was people pulling out. Obviously, the big one was Conor. He was supposed to headline it, and then Jamal Hill pulls out, Khalil Roundtree pulls out, and then, we just shambles. And then the day of the fight, with hours, Brian Ortega pulls out, which sucks because I was really looking forward to that fight, bro. So it was unfortunate. However, Dan Ige stepped in literally, again, 3 hours notice. Guy was he was in shape, so he was like, hey, I'm down for it. He was supposed to fight, I believe, if not this weekend, but the next one. No, not this weekend, because there's no fight. It's probably in 2 weeks. But he stepped in, and hey, we had actually a pretty good fucking fight, and I think it was a great test for Diego. And in hindsight, I'm like, well, maybe that's better, okay? Because Diego, the rankings were right there, and Brian was ranked number 3, okay? And I think Dan Ige, I forget his ranking, but he was like right next to Diego. I think one of them was 14 and then 15. But it was a great fight. But we'll talk about it here in a sec. I know it's unfortunate because I'm a huge Brian Ortega fan, so I was really looking forward to see him fight and see the test that Diego would have encountered. With a great, not only a great boxer, but also a great jiu-jitsu guy like Brian Ortega. But we'll talk about that one. To kick off the main card, we did have Ian Machado Gary facing off against Michael Venom Page. I think it was clear that on the feet, Michael Venom Page was way better, like on another level, okay? Faster, more accurate, okay? Ian... for looking at the stats, Ian had more strikes. However, he landed less. Okay, he had a 64% versus a 70% for Michael Venom Page, and then significant strikes. It was MVP 21 versus Ian Gary 19. So what gave Ian the win, the unanimous decision, was the takedowns really and the submission attempts, I think. So I gave it round number 1 was definitely for Ian. That was clear with the takedown and nearly submitting MVP. Round number 2 was MVP all day. Okay, MVP all day. I think he stuffed the takedown if I'm not mistaken, and then he just had great success on the feet, man, landing some amazing shit. And you can tell Ian was struggling on the feet because he was shooting, and he was shooting for a takedown, right? And he doesn't do that a lot. Like, he's primarily a striker. Like, he has good jiu-jitsu, but that's another thing I want to talk about. Like, his jiu-jitsu is okay, but he couldn't submit a striker. You know what I mean? And listen, I know Ian gets a ton of hate. Okay, I'm not going to hate on the guy, but I do think he just overhypes himself so much, okay? He talks a huge, big game. He talks about he's the next Conor, how he's this new generation of striker. And hey, look, you went against an older dude, significantly different. I think it was like 5 or 6 years in difference, right? And he was talking all this shit, how he's younger, he's faster, he's stronger. And at the end of the day, we did not see that, okay? Ian just MVP completely dominated on the feet, okay? So that is that, okay? I'm not saying Ian is a bad fighter. He's a great fighter, and a win is a win. And at the end of the day, though, he's getting these wins that are really close to the point where they're just almost a split, okay? Even Dana White himself in the press conference said that he thought that fight was a draw. And yeah, looking at the stats, it could definitely be a draw. I mean, it's what it looked like, you know what I mean? But, Ian ended up getting the dub. It is what it is. I don't think this is a a bad thing for MVP at all. I mean, it's only your second fight in the UFC ever, and you fought a highly ranked guy. I think he's ranked number 7. So I mean, the fact that he was having great success and a lot of people thought that he did better, you know what I mean? That's great, and it proves that his striking can hang. Okay, because yeah, he was in Bellator, which is obviously a lower competition, a lower skill. Not to sound fucked up, but it is what it is. Then he did some bare knuckle as well. But then everybody was asking, well, will he be able to hang with the top of the division and the UFC, right? Which is a whole other animal. It's like playing college football and then going to the NFL. Like, it's literally what it is. And I thought he looked great. Obviously, he has to improve on his wrestling, his takedown defense, and his grappling. I mean, that's the main thing he has to focus on. I think if you're a guy like MVP, right, or if you're a guy like Alex Pereira or like Israel Adesanya, guys that come from a primarily striking background, you dominated the striking, right? So why not shift your entire, not camp, but like your training focus to just focus on the wrestling and on the grappling? Like, yeah, you can still do some boxing and hit the bags, but I feel like they might focus so much their training on striking, but they don't need that because they're already masters at striking. You know what I mean? But then you face a guy that takes you down and wants to submit you, and you struggle. And you can tell MVP was struggling bad on the ground. Didn't get submitted though, which also speaks a lot to Ian Gary's jiu-jitsu. Like, okay, you say you're this big, he hypes. This is the problem. He hypes himself so much, but did shitty on the feet. Did okay on the wrestling. Did okay on the ground. You know what I mean? And couldn't submit a striker. So again, what does that say about someone like Ian? And I gotta hand it to honestly, bro. Like, whenever Ian, okay, because it will happen. Whenever Ian faces these top guys, I think he's going to hit a brick wall. I think he's gonna hit a realization that, oh fuck, like, he hasn't showed us that he can compete in the top 5, top 3, maybe top 5, maybe, but top 3. Dude, when you got people like Shafkat, bro, like, that guy will melt Ian like butter. I'm calling it right now. I don't know what Ian's next fight is. There's talks about Colby, there's talks about Kamaru, about even Shafkat. I think he brought his name up. And when he said Shafkat, he himself said, I was like, oof. I don't know if you want to be calling out Shafkat, bro. Not with the performance that he had at 303, okay? If he fights Shafkat like that, again, Shafkat is going to melt him like butter, bro. Okay? But there's other fun fights for him in the top 5. Like, I would like to see him fight Colby. JDM is right there too. Jack de la Maddalena. That would be a great fight. And also, I would like a Kamaru fight. I think that's a realistic fight. And Kamaru, obviously, not as dominant as he once was. We haven't seen him in there in a little bit ever since he fought Khamzat. So who knows? Who knows where he's at? You know what I mean? If he is able to tap into how he used to be and dominant, Ian is going to be in huge trouble. But there's some good fights for him. As far as Michael, man, I mean, like I said, it's not a huge loss for him, okay? You took this fight, your second fight ever in the UFC, and you did good. You did really good. And when the boss, Dana White, is telling you that he thought it was a draw, I guess that speaks something, that speaks to how sometimes the judges don't necessarily, especially when there's wrestling involved. When there's grappling and wrestling involved, I feel like that's when judges fumble the most, okay? Because striking is pretty straightforward, like who landed more, who did more damage, okay? But when there's grappling and wrestling involved, that's when some of the judges fumble. A draw, I don't know. I thought that Ian maybe did get the win slightly, again, because of the takedowns. But on the feet, he was getting destroyed, okay? And I think if that fight was 5 rounds, I think MVP gets the win. I think on the next round, he could have potentially just, or even do like a TKO, or potentially just outpoint him, the entirety of the fight. And yeah, I mean, MVP looked good. He looked loose. He looked jumpy. He was bouncing up and down, man. I think he looked really fucking good. that is another guy that I'm excited to see him fight some of his other big names dudes in the division. I think that'll be interesting. MVP versus Wonder Boy, by the way, would be a fucking striking clinic. That would be really fucking dope. Because Wonder Boy, obviously, they have a similar style where they're fighting sideways and they have like that jumpy shit. But yeah, it was a good fight overall. Shout out to Ian for the dub. You know what I mean? Just, I think he needs to be, again, I'm not hating, but Ian needs to be humble, bro. He either needs to be knocked out or submitted, get chalked out or something. Because he just talked this huge game, bro, and it's just not there. It's not there. You're not the next Conor. People hate you, bro. You get booed everywhere you go. Show me a time in Conor's career when he got booed, okay? You're not the next Conor. And show me a time where Conor struggled this much against a striker. Like you know what I mean? Like, yeah, he had, you know, the Chad Mendes fight was a good one. That was it was prolonged, but he ultimately got the dub, I think, by TKO. And most of his fights were TKOs or KOs. So that's great. He's not the next Conor. I'm sorry. He's a great fighter. He should drop that. I think people will like him more if he says, "Hey, I'm Ian Gary. Like I am who I am. I fight the way I fight. Okay, I'm not a knockout artist. I'm not a submission artist, but I get dubs. I get points. Okay, I can rock with that." But when you try to be more famous than you are, it just doesn't look good, you know. And you can tell, man, people hate him. People hate him. The guy gets booed so much, and it's crazy. And I don't know if this is like, I don't know if the UFC does kind of what, like, you know, like if you watch the Tom Brady roast, Kim Kardashian got fucking booed pretty bad. But Netflix on the stream, they lowered the volume of the crowd, or they cut it out. I don't know if the UFC does that, but there was an awkward time during the broadcast where there was almost no sound coming from the crowd. I was like, wait, this is a little odd. Go back and watch it. It's during his fight and post-fight interview. Again, I wasn't there live. I could be completely wrong, but, you know, the guy is hated. I mean, it's hated, bro. It's kind of wild. Next, we had a women's bantamweight fight. Mayra Bueno Silva versus Macy Chiasson. It was a good fight. It was going really good. But unfortunately, Mayra caught a nasty elbow from Macy. It was on the ground. She was on top, going to town. Phenomenal ground and pound, I should say. And the elbow landed super clean. And if you saw Mayra's eyebrow, oh my God, that was probably the deepest cut I've seen. Okay, it was worse than Max Holloway versus Alex, the third fight. He had that nasty fucking cut. This fight was, this fight was not the fight, sorry, the cut. It was disgusting. Okay, and yeah, it was stopped, you know, by the doctor. It was doctor stoppage. You know, it's tough, you know. She wanted to continue. She went over to Dana White and said, you know, this is bullshit. I want to continue. But, bro, when you have a cut that deep, it's dangerous, because all Macy has to do is maybe like punch that same area a couple more times and it's going to get worse, okay? And it was deep, bro, okay? It was deep. It was terrible. So shout out to Macy for getting that dub, you know? Shout out for her. I think she's up there in the rankings now, you know what I mean? Let's see here. Where are we at? Bantamweight. Yeah, so Mayra was ranked number 3 and Macy was ranked number 7. So I think that potentially we can see Macy, you know, getting a title shot next. Who knows? You know, Raquel is there, available, I think. Juliana Pena is there too, available. I don't think she has anything booked. So, you know, shout out to her. You know, I wasn't super impressed by this fight, but, you know, it is what it is. Next, we had Anthony Smith versus Roman Dolidze. Another fight that I personally wasn't super impressed with this one. And you can tell that, you know, light heavyweight, these are a little bit of bigger guys, you know, so they got more fat, a little bit more fat on them. And then late notice fight, okay, well, like a week, 2 weeks notice. So you can tell these dudes were not 100%, okay? And I mean, shout out to them for taking the fight. I'm not saying anything like that. Like, they are both killers, and the fight was entertaining, but just skill-wise, you can tell both guys were fatigued and just not at the level that they would have been if they had a complete camp. You know what I mean? So you can tell both of them were a little fatigued and just slower pace overall. But Roman ended up getting the dub. I think completely outstruck Anthony, literally almost double the total strikes, and then double the significant strikes. So that was great. Literally one takedown too from Roman. One takedown out of 3. So 33% takedown accuracy there. So like I said, it was an okay fight. You know what I mean? It was nothing that was gonna blow your socks off. But yeah, I mean, shout out to the dudes for just giving us at least a fight. You know what I mean? And yeah, it was great. Then we had Dan Ige versus Diego Lopez, who's Diego ended up getting the dub. Again, also by unanimous decision, a lot of decisions, unfortunately. But yeah, if you don't know, Dan Ige coming up to this fight with literally 3 hours notice. Like Brian, I knew something was wrong, but I didn't want to like assume anything. But I knew something was wrong on Friday during the weigh-ins. I think Diego came out first and he waited. I was like, wait, 155? What? Why is he 155? For a second, I was like, did he miss weight? Did Diego miss weight? I think he came out first. I'm not sure, but 155. And I was like, oh, that's kind of odd. Then we learned that Brian couldn't cut weight. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, that's fine. You know, it's short notice fight. So cutting those extra 10 pounds must be a nightmare. So, you know, at that point we were not super worried, but I was like, something's up, you know what I mean? And then, yeah, during the whole press conference, during the interviews, you can tell Brian was a little odd. He was just super nonchalant about the whole thing, just quiet and just, you know, not necessarily hyping up the fight or anything like that. He was just kind of whatever. And yeah, turns out he was sick or something. I don't know exactly what was wrong with him. He did say something that if he would have fought, he would have probably puked all over the octagon. So yeah, we definitely don't want that. So ends up pulling out, okay? And Dan Ige steps in, okay? Now, these two guys, Dan Ige and Diego Lopez, both of them are savages, okay? Let me just talk about Diego here for a sec, okay? Dude makes weight at 145. Gets the call that, hey, it's not at 145, it's at 155. So says, all right, shit, fuck, whatever. Saying yes the whole time. All right, 55? All right, cool. And then gets the call that Brian might not fight, you know, but we're looking for somebody else. At this point, he can totally say, hey, you know what, guys? I'm good. Just find me another opponent for next week or something, or next month, whatever, you know what I mean? But this dude doesn't do that. He's a savage. He says, nah, I'm still good to fight. Just find me whoever, you know what I mean? The day of the fight. And he said that he and his team, you know, whenever they found out that it was Dan Ige that was gonna fight, they pulled out his phone and they just watched some of his fights because they had no idea, because they're not preparing for Dan Ige. This is the thing that people don't realize with last minute fights. It's not only about being trained. Like, most people stay in shape all year long. Okay, it's a matter of preparing yourself for a kind of fighter. Okay, you had Brian Ortega, who was a great boxer and a submission artist, you know what I mean? A Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. So you're training for that, and then you get a fucking great striker in Dan Ige, explosive dude, you know, a powerful dude. So couldn't be more opposites. Okay? And Diego said, fuck it, I'll take the fight. So that in itself should tell you that Diego is an absolute stud, a fucking animal, okay? The fact that he just went on with this whole bullshit, okay? Most fighters would have said, nah, I'm good. Just find me a fight for next month or whatever, right? But not Diego. Diego wanted to fucking fight and get the dub, and shout out to him, bro. That was great. And obviously, shout out to Dan Ige for stepping up and saying, yeah, I'll fight this young, up-and-coming dude, okay, with 3 hours notice. And I've never, you know, I don't know if you've seen his fights, but he definitely was not preparing for him. Dan Ige was supposed to fight, I think, not the next one, but I think the fight night after that. I'm not sure exactly when, but he had a fight coming up. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it was Diego that ended up catching the dub. And I got to say, it was a great fight. Dan Ige had amazing success, okay, on the feet, landing some great strikes. And in hindsight, I think this was a good thing for Diego. I think that Brian, a healthy Brian and a Brian in a full camp would have been super dangerous for Diego after what we saw, okay? And I don't know what it was. Maybe Diego just, again, he wasn't fully prepared for Dan, but Dan was doing good. Okay, so it makes you realize if he kind of struggled a little bit against the 13 guy, what would happen with the number 3 guy? Because Brian was ranked number 3. He is ranked number 3, you know? And it I don't know. I feel like it was a big jump, but because Diego was number 14 and Brian again number 3, it was a huge jump. But we've seen it before. We saw it with Hamzat and shit like that. We saw it with fucking what's his name, the Dagestani rat, the rat from Dagestan. No, I'm kidding. Fucking Islam Makhachev. These dudes get skyrocketed, to the top of the division all the way from the back, and they do good. You know what I mean? I mean, when Hamzat fought Gilbert Burns, it was a great fight, and Gilbert was no punk. Everybody thought that Hamzat was just gonna melt through Gilbert, but that wasn't the case. Gilbert was there and it shows their rankings are there for a reason. He's number 3 for a reason. Brian has been at the top of the division for a fucking reason. He's a killer. He's a savage. Okay, he's fought the who's. He fought Max Holloway, fucking Korean Zombie, fucking Volkanovski. He's fought everybody. And then you have this dude, Diego Lopez, who was unranked, and then he was ranked number 14, I want to say. It's a big jump. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he wasn't going to get melted by Brian, but I'm just saying it's a big jump in competition. And a lot of times that can lead to destruction, to a loss, So I thought this was if this fight would have been announced first, Dan Ige versus Diego Lopez, I think that makes way more sense, okay? Because again, you have number 14 guy versus number 13 guy, rather than 14 versus number 3, okay? I think it was good, however, that we saw Diego face some adversity. I think it was good that he needs to... I think now he knows what he needs to do to compete more in the top of the division. I think he just needs to just polish his game a little more. That's all it is. Just polish it. He's already a great fighter. His striking, it's not bad, but it's awkward. He throws very loopy punches, and he does this a lot. Okay, like when he's going in, when he thinking he was gonna get a kill, he just does this a lot. Okay, and he opens up wide a lot. So any good boxer or kickboxer that can just go down the middle, I think he gets knocked out or at least rocked. You know what I mean? So he has to definitely improve a little bit on the feet. On the ground, he's amazing. I will say that. I don't know why, but the website right now, it's not showing me the stats of the fight. Maybe because it was I don't know why, but it's not. Usually I want to see the strikes lined and shit, but it's not letting me. Well, whatever. Overall, it was a good fight. I don't know what's next for these two guys because, again, this was a super last-minute fight, nothing planned. But looking at the rankings, I mean, I'm assuming Diego is going to go up to either 13 or 12. And then from there, I mean, you got some good potential fights right there. You know what I mean? You got Jalen Turner. That would have been a good fight. Wait, hold on. This is at 55, so my bad. Let me go back because I don't think he's going to be at 55. I think he himself even said that he was probably going to go back down to 45. So, which makes sense. I mean, you're a 45er, and he's not small, but I think he doesn't want to do that now in his career, okay? You don't want to do that earlier in your career. You don't want to go back and forth between two weight classes. I think that's something that you should wait till you dominate one weight class and then move up at a later time, because also he's going to grow. I mean, he's not young, but, he can put on muscle over time in the right way, because most guys, when they go up a weight class, they just do it just eating food, you know what I mean? If you do it the right way by putting in the muscle, that's when you see success, like Max Holloway, you know what I mean? Like John Jones. So that is that's good, but he looked good at 55, you know what I mean? And you can tell there's just more power there, because obviously, oh wait, never mind. This fight wasn't even at 55. I'm tweaking, bro. This fight was at catch weight. It was at 65 or 60? Something along those lines. But anyways, I mean, do you count this for the featherweight rankings? Like, will you move up? Because, is he going to move up to 12 or 13? I doubt it. I think they stay the exact same. I will say there are some good fights for him there at featherweight. You know what I mean? You have Bryce Mitchell, who is coming off a loss, unfortunately. So that might be a good test for Diego. Bryce also great on the ground, by the way. Both great grapplers, so that might be good. You have Calvin Kattar. You have Aljo there in the picture too. Might be a good test for Aljo if he is wanting to come up and fight at featherweight. So that might be a good test for him. But yeah, I completely forgot that this fight was not even. It wasn't a featherweight. It wasn't a lightweight, bro. It was a catchweight at 160 or some shit like that. So do you count it for the rankings? I don't know. It's tough. It's fucking tough. The main event of the evening was obviously Alex Pereira versus Jiri Prochazka. Looking back at the first fight, I was rewatching it, and yeah, you can tell that Jiri was getting hurt badly by those calf kicks, but he was having success on the feet, man. He was having success with coming from different angles. He had a couple of good uppercuts, a couple of good just having different angles. Don't be so. And again, this is something that if you compare him to maybe like a Diego Lopez, like he's more calculated on those angles. Diego just goes wild and wide, Jiri is more calculated where he fakes a takedown, a shoot, and then goes for the uppercut. He fakes it, he goes up, and then he goes boom over the top with the right hand. So he's technical at that, okay? And he was having great success with that on the first fight. Obviously, the first fight, his leg got chewed up, and then he landed some great combo on Alex, but then Alex, when he came with the counter, hit him with the right and the left, it was over. That's all she wrote. The first fight, you definitely saw improvement for Alex. Jiri pretty much had nothing to say for Alex striking. And again, we saw those calf kicks again, getting hit by those. And then you also saw, the end of the first round was wild. Getting knocked down, damn near knocked out, the last second of the fucking first round and saved by the bell. I know there was some confusion that when I saw right away, I was like, oh, he got saved by the bell. But some people was like, wait, did he just lose? Because when Hervdien steps in, some people might be confused. Some people might not hear the bell, and you might think like it's a KO, right? But it was not. It was he got knocked down, and then the bell rung, literally like a second, where he hits the mat. Alex, you can tell he's going for the kill, but then the bell rings. Okay, so literally saved by the bell. But by the way, it's not a bell. Everyone says that it's a bell in boxing. In UFC, it's a horn. You know what I mean? It's more like one of those horns. But gets knocked down. Then obviously in between the round, when he gets up and he's going towards a corner, you can tell he's not all there. He's wobbly, okay? And second round starts and literally Alex throws a left kick and that's it. He lands it. Jiri goes down, beautiful left kick. Then Alex goes down for the ground and pound and gets the dub, man. So shout out to Alex for literally improving. Like he did his homework, okay? He watched the first fight. He said, okay, this is where I did wrong in the first fight. Maybe I got lucky with the counter because I was getting hit. This is what I could do better. So he did. And then he won. That's what makes a great fighter, be able to make those adjustments, especially if you face a guy before, okay? If you face a guy twice and you make the same mistakes that you made in the first fight, what does that speak to, like, his fight IQ? Like, is he really that smart of a fighter? You know what I mean? Because the skill's there, because you can have a nasty left hook, but if you don't understand distance, movement, and pace and all of that, like if you don't got good fight IQ, you can have the best left hook in the world, but without fight IQ, it's useless. You know what I mean? So he had great fight IQ. He realized what he did wrong, and he came out and adjusted and won the fight. And for Jiri, I think it was not doing terrible. Literally, up until the last second of the first round, he was doing okay. Something that he does that I do like, especially against Alex, is you gotta go for takedowns. Is what you gotta do. Okay, I think Alex on the feet, we already saw, is undefeated. And then looking back at Jiri's fight, for example, versus Glover Teixeira, submitted Glover. amazing jiu-jitsu, you know what I mean? Amazing takedowns. So that was what I thought was his route towards success. Okay, getting a takedown and getting a submission. I think that's looking at the fight. I'm like, this is the only way I can see Jiri win this fight. Okay, a takedown, submission, or a takedown, ground and pound. Obviously, it didn't happen, but he did fake. He feinted it, which is good because when you going against a striker, okay, especially someone that throws left kicks or high or striker like Alex, if you at least let him know like, hey, I can take you down, that immediately puts a mindset on most guys, not Alex, but that puts a mindset on, oh, okay, I can get taken down, so I probably won't throw as much shit, caution to the wind. You know what I mean? And I think we saw that. Which fight was it? It was an MVP fight versus Ian. Once Ian gets the takedown, you can tell MVP was not throwing as much like high kicks as he usually does. You know, he usually has more high kicks and then more spinning shit. But when the takedown fear is there, that's when you cannot do that because that's when you're most vulnerable to a takedown. If you throw a high kick, bro, you're on one leg. You can get taken down so easily, right? If you do some spinning shit, by the time you turn back around, the guy could already be shooting for the takedown. So at least having that fear that, hey, I can take you down, right? That's what a lot of times shuts down a lot of strikers and it makes them throw less and stick to just straight fundamental boxing. That's what Jerry needed to do. And he did it. I think he did feint it. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter against Alex, bro, because I said this last week, I think, and I said this last week, and now I am doubling down on it. And I think we are witnessing potentially the best UFC run ever. Okay, I'm making this call right now because usually we don't realize this until after, okay? Usually we don't realize like, oh my God, that guy went through a run. We don't realize that in the moment. We always wait till either they're retired or they hit success like Conor. Like Conor had an amazing run. Jon Jones had an amazing run. But we appreciate him more now than 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, you know, when they were doing the run. So I think that Alex, we need to stop and smell the roses. We need to stop and appreciate that we might be looking at the next GOAT, okay? The next GOAT. And yeah, before this fight, I had him in my GOAT list. Second to Jon Jones, or maybe like second or third, but definitely not on top of Jon Jones, okay? After this, he's still not above Jon Jones, and that's the one thing I do agree with Dana. However, Dana, he takes like such a defensive stance against Jon Jones, okay? And yeah, the guy's undefeated, and yeah, the guy's been injured, so he can't fight, right? But just because he can't fight, you're not gonna dethrone someone if they're injured, you know? But at least he should acknowledge that, hey, if Alex gets a couple more defenses at light heavyweight, and then is able to move up to heavyweight, whether it is down the road versus Tom Aspinall or something like that, that immediately puts him in most people's GOAT list above Jon Jones. And I think the argument that Dana has, which is a good argument, but his main argument is that Jon Jones is undefeated, okay? And Alex has that loss against Izzy. He got knocked out terribly, you know what I mean? So, but then he knocked him out the fight before. So like, what do you appreciate more? Do you appreciate more getting into this 50-50 moment and winning, you know what I mean? Or do you appreciate more a guy that just is completely undefeated? Because I'll tell you a guy who is also undefeated, but Dana, for whatever reason, now forgets, is Khabib. Khabib is also undefeated, arguably never lost a round. Okay? Jon Jones definitely lost rounds. That's without a question, okay? Khabib is undefeated and never lost a round. Now, I myself, I do not put Khabib in my top 5. Like, not even nothing my top 10, bro. Okay? So everyone has different GOAT lists, and that's okay. And people want to argue about like who's the GOAT. Who's the GOAT to you? Okay? And also, who's the GOAT? We got so many GOAT statuses. It's crazy. We have per weight class, we have overall, we have per year, maybe we have per generation, like old GOAT versus new GOAT, you know what I mean? So it's so subjective that Dana has his own metrics for what he thinks is the GOAT, and everybody else has their own too. Like I said, Dana values that Jon Jones is undefeated, but somehow doesn't talk about Khabib, who's also undefeated. You know what I mean? He's talked about it before, but like he didn't talk about him in this past press conference when he was praising Jon Jones. He could have mentioned like, oh, and by the way, also Khabib. You know what I mean? But I think he understands that a fighter like Alex, a finisher, a fucking nuclear bomb is what this guy is way more fun to watch than Islam, than Khabib, than all those Dagestani dudes that all they do is wrestle, okay? And it's not shading his Dagestanis. Like if for example, if Shara Magomedov is able to improve his striking, improve his wrestling, and now we have a Dagestani dude that is a striker, okay, now we're talking. Now we're cooking something, you know what I mean? But these guys that immediately go for the takedown and just make it look so easy, yes, they're skill-wise, they're so high up at a level that no one's ever going to be. But entertainment value is so down because nobody wants to watch that. I mean, most people, you know what I mean? And it's a conflict even between me too, because like I go back and forth, and I'm sure you heard me talk about it before. I go back and forth between, okay, when I see a Dagestani dude dominate someone for 3 or 5 rounds, you know what I mean, and get a dub, is that entertaining or not? Like, am I actually, I appreciate it, okay? And that's the main difference, and that's the main thing that I go back and forth. I appreciate that this art form that this guy has done since he's fucking 2 years old in wrestling bears in Dagestan, you know, like he's able to wrestle everybody in the UFC. I appreciate that, but it's not necessarily what I'm tuning in for and what I want to see. Now, I talked about this a couple of weeks ago too. Like, I appreciate an overall round guy, okay? If Khabib, for example, wrestles his whole life, you know what I mean, and he's obviously an amazing wrestler, amazing grappler, and at a point in his life, he has to say, okay, I've perfected this art form. Maybe not to the fullest level, because you're never going to be at the fullest. So maybe perfected is not the right thing to say, but I'm a master. Okay, you can say that. I'm a master at grappling and leveling, okay? The moment he starts getting in the UFC and starts getting, you know, momentum, that's when he should say, okay, let me switch my whole camp to improve my striking. Let me do like 80% striking and 20% wrestling, because you know you're good at wrestling, and obviously don't drop it. Don't do it. You know what I mean? You still got to polish it every once in a while, but maybe do like a 70-30, like 70% focus on striking. Do that for 2-3 years, and I guarantee you it's going to improve massively, okay? And you'll be able to then be well-rounded and overall just have more, like have people's interests more. Because again, this is where we like a guy that can finish fights any second of the fucking fight, okay? And that's what Alex is, and I think that's why Alex immediately jumped up to a lot of people's goats, higher than a lot of those guys, higher than Khabib, higher than Islam. And if he keeps going, okay, if he's able to defend the light heavyweight title a few more times, and then eventually move up to heavyweight, or eventually maybe go back. I don't think he goes back down. I don't think that happens. I think that he's too big. Because the easy rematch is always there, but not at middleweight, I think. You know what I mean? So I think if he eventually moves up to heavyweight, it's great. Now, a lot of people like Joe Rogan and shit like that, they want to see that now. They want to see Alex fight, I don't know, in 2 months or 3 months at heavyweight. I don't think that's doable, especially because of the state of the heavyweight division right now. It's not necessarily his issue, okay? It's the heavyweight. Right now, it's chaos, okay? You have Jon Jones still out. Stipe waiting for Jon Jones. You have Tom Aspinall defending the interim title, so that's going to be soon this year. So after those 4 guys fight, that's when Alex should step in and say, all right, what do I want to do? Do I want to call out Jon Jones, who's probably going to retire, but you never know. Guys retire and they come back all the time. Or do I want to fight Tom Aspinall? You know what I mean? Once that title is settled, I think that's when Alex comes in. I think right now, I think he should wait. Okay. And it's tough for me to say because, yeah, he can totally, I think, he can defeat someone in the top of the heavyweight division and be a triple champion for the first time ever, which would put him in a GOAT status, you know? He can do that now. I think that's without a question. He can do that right now, okay? So, but there are some good fights for him at light heavyweight. Well, I should say they're not good fights, plural, okay? I think there's one fight that makes the most sense because he's already beat number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4 guy. And then Rakic, number 5, he is coming out of a loss, I think. So wouldn't make more sense for him. Yeah, he just lost against Jiri, so that wouldn't make any sense. And then he lost against Jan Blachowicz, so again, makes no sense. The guy that I think makes more sense for him, which it's rare that I'm not seeing him on the... Am I tripping? Oh, never mind. There it is. Magomed Ankalaev. I missed him. I was like, wait, did he get dropped? Magomed Ankalaev, okay, undefeated and ranked currently number 2. So I think he's clearly the next opponent for Alex Pereira. And again, my opinion is that he should at least defend the title against Magomed and then go from there, you know? And then after that, usually that's when hopefully after that, that's when the whole heavyweight title will be settled. Will land on probably Tom Aspinall, if I'm correct. If I had to guess, I think John Jones retires after Stipe, and then Aspinall just gets promoted to champ. I don't think he fights John Jones. I think he just gets promoted because John Jones retires. So then that's when Alex, after he has hopefully defeated Magomed, that's when he should go up and say, all right, it's my turn. And that is when, if he wins against Tom Aspinall, boy, do we have a new GOAT. Especially after John Jones retiring, because then we can say, okay, John Jones is retired. So we can put him in the GOAT list as one of the best ever, okay? But as far as right now, it will have to be Alex, okay? It will. If it plays out the way I just played it out, and I'm going to clip this, honestly. I'm going to save this clip and watch this prediction because I think this is the way it's going to play out, okay? Let me break it down for you one more time. John Jones defeats Stipe Miocic. Tom Aspinall defeats Curtis. I would say Alex defeats Magomed Ankalaev. And then Alex defeats Tom Aspinall, okay? That's what's going to happen. I already saw the movie, guys. I promise you that's what's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, tough fights for Alex, though. Magomed is no punk because Magomed, great striker, great wrestler. But again, guys, it doesn't matter. Like, Alex will just end the fight whenever he wants. Like, it does not matter. And we saw also that he can get back up, okay? If he gets taken down, he can get back up, and he's only going to get better because he's still going to be training with none other than Glover Teixeira, okay? A fucking animal on the ground. So he's only going to get better on that. And I think potentially Magomed has not that much power when it comes to knocking dudes out. So that's where Alex's advantage, that's where that is, okay, and the power. So yeah, and then if you want to talk about a potential Tom Aspinall fight, that's where I think Alex is going to find his match, okay? Because now it's a bigger dude, power's there, jiu-jitsu is there too. The guy, Tom Aspinall is a phenomenal jiu-jitsu guy, you know what I mean? So that's where Alex could find his match. But again, I'm not making a prediction right now, but the way I see it is I don't see Tom Aspinall knocking Alex out, but I do see Alex knocking him out, Tom Aspinall, especially because Alex will be even heavier than he is now. You know what I mean? Now, when he was cutting weight to middleweight, you get sucked. So you get sucked off. No, not sucked off. You get sucked down to weight. And that could cause your jaw and your brain to be a little bit weaker. Okay. And that's why he got knocked out against Izzy But we can see that at light heavyweight, he has more of a chin, okay? At heavyweight, he might have even a better chin because, again, no weight cut. But again, I think he has to do it the right way. I think after he defends his belt against Magomed, he should not get fat, obviously, but put on muscle. If it's possible to put even more muscle than he already has. I mean, he's fucking massive, gigantic. And, you know, I do agree with Dana that it's not that easy to make that move, bro, okay? Because, yeah, light heavy is 205, and Alex is walk around probably 230. But then Tom Aspinall is probably 250, you know what I mean? Or 240. I don't know. It's interesting to see his weight, walk around weight. Let me see. Tom Aspinall walk weight. According to the social media post, every lightweight. What? So this is saying that Tom Aspinall is 262. Okay, 262. Okay, that is 30 pounds. 30 pounds heavier than Alex Pereira. Okay, and Alex, he might fluctuate between 230, 240. So, you know, at the lowest 20, 25 pounds. Okay, that's massive, bro. That's a massive difference. I mean, and if it comes down to the grappling, that's where Tom will have an advantage because being the heavier guy, Alex is going to have to carry his weight. And I think that's the advantage that Tom... I don't know why I'm even breaking down this fight because it's not going to happen yet, at least, you know what I mean? But I guess my whole point is that that's why I see Alex defending right now the light heavy and just chilling out on the heavy for a bit. He's going to do it, and he should do it. He should go for it because it's an opportunity that not a lot of people get, you know what I mean? And I'm sure he would be down to do it right now. But if he wants to do it right, I think he should take some months to put on the weight on the right way because it is a crazy weight difference. You're talking about 20, 30 pounds, you know what I mean? And if they're in the octagon and Alex is 230, 240 and Tom Aspinall is 260, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Alex might be slower. Alex might be faster. And then again, even saying all that, even with all that just being said, I just see Alex landing that left hook, bro. Again, being probably smaller, which puts you faster, being a little bit faster, that's where he can land that fucking left hook. I don't know, bro. It's wild. But whatever happens, I will be here to break it down. So yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching this episode. Let me know in the comments what you think. Did I just speak a bunch of bullshit? Or am I crazy? Or am I making some sense of what I'm saying? Please let me know. Shout out, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.